Big breaking news out of the NBA. The Nets have fired their head coach, Steve Nash, after 2+ seasons there in Brooklyn. Was hired back in 2020. Did not have any coaching experience in the NBA. When 94-67, they were swept last year in the playoffs following a year of a lot of Kyrie Irving drama there. A tumultuous offseason followed after that. We had Kevin Durant demanding that both Steve Nash and GM Sean Marks be fired. That didn't happen. The Nets so far starting the season 2-5. Steve Nash now losing his job. Jacques Vaughn taking over as interim head coach. Let's welcome in Avery Johnson joining us on phone to talk about the firing of Steve Nash. Avery, you were the former head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. You played alongside Steve Nash. Before I dive into any specific questions, just overall, your reaction to him losing his job there as head coach.
Well, my reaction is I'm not necessarily surprised. This was something that was discussed in the off season, obviously, when Kevin Durant took his stance when he supposedly wanted a coaching change and a change in the front office for him to return to the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets didn't cooperate with the request. Kevin Durant returned to the team, and things haven't gone well, not because of Kevin Durant, but overall, the team has been in disarray. They haven't been very competitive on a defensive end at all. Kyrie Irving still remains somewhat of a distraction off the court and on the court. Ben Simmons, still doesn't want to, from an offensive standpoint, and I know they're saying they got to give him some time, but offensively, still a guy that really doesn't want to look at the basket. So they've had a couple of different storms come their way, and then Steve Nash just seems like, he just couldn't push the right buttons with this team, and subsequently it led to a parting of ways.
Avery, a lot of people are going to say it was the players that led to Steve Nash getting fired. Yes, you have a 2-5 record, but you see winning seasons prior to that. I'm curious, from when you were coaching to now, how much is different in that the players dictate what's going on with their head coach?
It's significantly different because the players have so much more autonomy. They have such a stronger voice. Social media also has a significantly large voice. So it's a different climate. It's a different era. Fans obviously have different modes of communicating. And then you gotta sell tickets. It's a big deal when you have those. You're playing in a $1 billion stadium, and a lot of the folks that pay some of the significantly large dollars for those suites and ticket packages, and then sponsorships of teams, and if they're not happy and their customers are not happy, it's just a whole different world right now. You got the NBA; they're going to be signing a new TV contract here sometime soon. That's going to affect local TV markets also. So it's more of a comprehensive situation, and because of that, I don't think Steve Nash got fired just because he lost a game. I think it was a comprehensive look at the entire totality and the culture of the Brooklyn Nets franchise and the players and how they function on and off the court.
Saying that then, we saw Kevin Durant call out Sean Marks as well during this offseason there. He is still there. How much is he on the hot seat right now?
It's hard to say. A lot of times coaches, and I've been in this situation, a lot of times the coach is the first one to get let go. And, and even if the coach and the GM walked in the door together, how many times have we seen that the GM survives and the coach is unable to survive? So this is a different situation where when you fire a coach, it seems like the GM always survives. So we'll see if this is going to affect Sean Marks. Obviously, the GM picks the players and with ownership. So we'll see how much this impacts his job security.
Avery, for the past handful of seasons, there's been so much hope for this Nets team. First it was KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, and then James Harden turned into Ben Simmons. It has not been able to come together at all so far. Is there a coach you can bring in to make this trio work? Or what is your concern level for the Brooklyn Nets right now?
My concern level is high. You can bring in Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, who's not available. You can bring in any of the legendary coaches. You still have to take a significant look at how this roster is constructed. And one of the biggest areas that you have to take a serious look is Ben Simmons. You know, how is he going to function, especially on the offensive end? Because a lot of times the Nets are just playing 4 against 5 defenders because he's not a threat offensively. Sure, you know, defensively he'd be very competitive. Now, he hadn't played basketball in a year or two, and he's got to get back in the flow. But who's going to be able to push that button to make him somewhat of an offensive threat, even if it's at the basket? So you got to take a look at this roster. But then I think you got to bring in a former experienced head coach, somebody that can bring the discipline that's a little bit defensive minded. I think the Nets are scoring enough points to be competitive, but defensively, they're very inept defensively. So you're going to have to bring in an experienced NBA coach that has a track record, that's going to be able to have a respect that when he walks in that door, the first day he walks in that door, he's going to command respect.
Avery, really quickly, last question here. I'm curious. You've coached in the NBA. Obviously, you were a player for a very long time. There are some cities where if you're a coach in that particular city, you feel like you're on the hot seat all the time, and it's a little bit more difficult than it is in other cities. Is Brooklyn a place like that, having been the head coach there?
Yes, because of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on the roster. Now, if you know, when I was coaching the Nets, the expectations weren't as high because we were in a total rebuild. I had taken over a 10 or 12 win team, bunch of young players on the team. We were just trying to, you know, hit the reset button and kind of get the team in the program reorganizing back on the positive level. But when you have a Kevin Durant that doesn't have many years left, he doesn't have a 10-year run left. He's coming from a championship situation with the Golden State Warriors. They handpicked a lot of the players, and you're in New York City with a team that was predicted in a lot of polls to potentially be the representative of the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals this year. There's tons of pressure, and you're always under fire.
Avery, I lied. I have one more question. It's pretty simple. Will the Brooklyn Nets have success this season?
On who they hire as the next coach. If they can turn the page in terms of their defensive strategy and system, and if Ben Simmons gets to a point where he could basically be a threat of averaging a triple-double, and obviously that requires scoring 10 or more points.
A lot of ifs. We'll see what happens. Avery Johnson, we appreciate it, former head coach of the Brooklyn Nets and the Dallas Mavericks there, who played alongside Steve Nash. Coming up, we'll continue to follow this breaking news. Steve Nash losing his job with the Brooklyn Nets. You see worst records in the NBA so far this season. The Nets right there sitting at 2-5. We'll see if they can turn things around, moving forward with their new interim head coach in Jacques Vaughn. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.